And good morning. It is June 1, the first day of June. Brand new month of possibilities. It's up to us to find those possibilities. If you've been watching and listening of what's going on in this country, and even throughout the world, we have a lot of problems, right? We have a former president that got convicted through a court of corruption and was found guilty. If you look at that case, and if you look at the players in that case, you see corruption from the very beginning until the very end within the district attorney in New York, within the judge itself, and within the media itself, because right now they are jumping for joy of what happened to Donald Trump. Unfortunately, when this case was brought, it was brought on, no one knew what the charge was. And as we end the case this last week, we still do not know what the charge is. Even President Trump doesn't know what the charge is. Famed attorneys that are in constitutional law and appeal law, they do not know what the charge is. They don't know what the crime is. And I have been posting all week, what is the crime? And no one responds back because no one understands what the crime was. So upon appeal, this is going to make it through and be dismissed. And what you see is a very corrupt judicial system that has been corrupted by politics. I'm very, very nervous about that. I'm scared, to tell you the truth, because now we have a political agenda that is within the courts and it's trying to make its way up into the Supreme Court. So you have to ask yourself, how am I as an American protected under this judicial system? Because it doesn't seem, as we look at it, it doesn't meet the qualifications of innocent until proven guilty. Now they create a crime to make you guilty. And that's exactly what has happened with Donald Trump. Listen, you may not like Donald Trump. You may hate Donald Trump. But what is vital in this case is it has shown us that the judicial system has been totally politicized and has become corrupt. The district attorneys, the judges, we have to watch them very carefully. Who in the world are watching the judges? Who in the world are watching the district attorneys? Because it seems like this is going on more and more, but nothing is being done about it. So we have a problem. America has a problem. The other issue that we have, Biden on Thursday told the Ukraine government, listen, you can go ahead and use American weapons to attack Russia within Russia. Now, what do you think that's going to set off? Do you think that's going to be a peaceful negotiation? No, because now Russia is being attacked by American weapons inside Russia. So when you see and hear Biden doing stupid stuff like this, it puts the American government and the American people in danger. We are not dealing with ethical people. We are dealing with unethical governments. We are dealing with unethical presidents. We have been throwing money at this country of Ukraine and nothing is being accomplished. Listen, Russia's a big country. They can wait this thing out. They have money sources that is going through China and going through other countries and bypassing all of these things, tariffs, and everything else that the United States government has put in place. They don't need to worry about the United States any longer. Because we have got such weak leadership within the country of the United States that nothing matters anymore. These bigger countries are looking at Russia and China are looking at us and say, my gosh, you guys have got such weak leadership, weak military. In fact, all of our military has been depleted because we've been sending it to to Ukraine, and now into Israel. So we're in trouble. This one decision of telling Ukraine, Zelensky, that, hey, it's okay, take our military devices that we're sending you, the bombs and the planes and the helicopters and the tanks, go ahead and go into Russia and attack Russia from within. It is the most stupid thing I have ever seen a president do. The other issue is that he is taking our national oil reserves and depleting them again because he wants to lower gasoline prices through the government system, which is supposed to be held in the event of an emergency. He's done this so many times that we are literally down to almost nothing in the National Reserve. And he can't buy any more oil to put into the National Reserve because it's at such high prices. At least one good thing that Trump did is that when the prices of gasoline dropped, he bought and filled up the reserves. Now all of that was built up is now practically gone. The other issue that I hear happening at the moment, foreclosures of homes are starting to rise again because Americans can no longer afford it. Inflation is so high. Wages have not kept up with inflation. Companies are going under. Restaurants are going under because of really the basics of business, which is wages. Wages have gone up in fast food restaurants and stuff, so now they're starting to shut them down and people are losing their jobs. And we've seen other companies say, we can no longer do this, so they're laying people off. And then the other issue that we have is that as this inflation does not get corrected, companies can't afford to raise wages because they are barely making it themselves. So we have a problem here in the United States, and it's all based on leadership. The leadership of the President of the United States has been so tactically wrong, so unethically wrong, that it's now put us into very dangerous situations of a corrupt judiciary system, of a corrupt war that is in Ukraine, of a corrupt president who doesn't understand the economy of the United States. The other day, he says, I'm going to give everybody $10,000 to help them buy a house. Excuse me. Help them be able to have a house and be able to have lower mortgage payments. $10,000 doesn't cut it, I'm afraid. Because what does that do? It inflates inflation. Every time the government gives a free stuff out, it raises inflation. We have a president that is so out of it that if he remains in office, you and I are going to be out there on the street saying, I used to have a house, I used to have a car, I used to have a family, I used to have a place to live, I used to have food in my belly, but under the Biden administration, I have nothing now. And we're almost at that point. If you look at the cars that are being repossessed and putting out there for auction, they're tremendous amounts. If you look at the auto industry, And if you look at trucks that are going for $70,000, who in the world is that dumb to go out and buy a $70,000 truck and have a $1,000, almost $1,500 a month payment on that truck? If you are doing that, you are acting very dumb, because let me tell you, this economy is not in good shape. You notice that Biden didn't even talk about that anymore, because he knows he has nothing, zero, zilcho to talk about, because our economy is not good. Inflation rises a little bit more every month. Food prices have not come down. Gas prices, gosh, here in California where I'm recording this at the moment, depending on where you're at, is $5 to $7 a gallon. So it all boils down to leadership. You need an individual that understands the economy and the business sense of this world, of this country, and of the world itself. And as long as we have an individual that has been a politician all of his life, who has never held an actual job within a company, even though he tells you that he's been a truck driver, he's been a teacher, he's been all this stuff, which is a bunch of bull, leadership is so important in order to run this country. And if you don't understand the economy, you cannot lead. So if you are a politician who has been in politics for over 40 years and have never actually dealt with the economy, starting a job, hiring individuals, looking at wage accounts, looking at retirement accounts, looking at the running operation of a business, if you don't understand that, and if you've been a politician, you will not be able to lead this country at all. He won't even be able to manage the expenses and the income of the United States, because he doesn't understand it. What he only understands is power and money in his pocket. Everybody else doesn't matter. Just doesn't matter. So we have a problem in the United States at the moment where you and we're going to have to think about this very carefully. How are we managing our money? Are we being able to save it all? Are we being able to plan for our retirement? Are we being able to meet the daily obligation of the rent and the utilities and the food and the taking care of our family? If we're not able to do that, we have to do a better job at managing our money and planning. We may not be able to watch Netflix. We may not be able to have HBO in the house anymore. This is where we stand today. Now, I've said all this negative stuff. We have a lot of possibilities here. A lot of possibilities. One, we are actually going to live within our means. We're going to take responsibility of how we manage our lives. We may have to go out and get a second job or a third job or take on some gigs inside our house in order to be able to survive. But this is an opportunity for us to really manage our finances. The other issue is that we have until November, 5th or 4th? I can't remember what day we have to go and vote on. But through our vote, we can send a very clear message, is that we have had enough, and we're going to put people in power, in I don't even like to call it power, but we're going to put people in government that are going to think, first of all, for you and I. Now, if they are a politician, they're going to be a typical politician. They're going to do the same old thing. They're going to go in at the very beginning of their job, and they may have made $70,000 in their life, But once they take office, the temptation is so great for that politician to make more money. And when they come out of office, they're worth $70 million. So we have got to be able to, in this November voting cycle, we have got to be able to find people and vote for people who will think for the American people, the people who they are representing in Congress, and a president who is going to represent us and fight for us. Excuse me. But we've got possibilities here because we can, through our vote, send a very clear message that enough is enough and we're going to take back the country. The other issue is that we have the opportunity now to speak out. And we should be speaking out. When we see people in the county doing stupid things, we see people in our cities doing stupid things. Well, these stupid people I'm talking about are the politicians. If we see them doing stupid things, we call them out. We have got to use social media much more. When we see dumb comments and dumb actions by politicians, we have got to call them out. We've got to send in letters. We've got to let our voice be heard. That is a possibility of letting our voice be heard. We as Americans are a great nation. You know that. I know that. Yes, there are some things that have been done wrong. We know that. But through the American people, we can correct that through our vote. And we can correct that through our voice. And we can make a difference in this world by doing things that benefit our communities. Because that's where we got to start at, is our local community. So we've got some possibilities here. But the biggest possibility that we have is our vote. And that means you and I have got to go out this November and vote much better than what we've done in the past. It's time for change. We can do it. We can also support individuals who are fighting for us as we fight also. The other issue that we have is, which I want to talk about, is we have got a lot of anti-American sentiment here in the United States. When people come from other countries, especially from the Islamic countries, they're not here to assimilate within the community, to become part of the community. We see this more and more. But they come in because they want to change our communities. If you look at the Islamic religion and if you read the Quran, you will see that the whole belief system is that sooner or later, this world will all be Muslim. And when they come into our communities, we have to stand firm and say, no, this is America. We have freedom of religion. We have a constitution, and we are not going to submit to Sharia law. Because we're Americans. This is our nation. You don't come into our nation and tell us what to do. You don't demonstrate on university campuses for terrorism and for Hamas. You don't do that. You see, here in America, we care about each other. We care about the rule of law. We care about the Constitution. And we do everything we can to protect the Constitution. And when we see politicians trying to attack the Constitution, we put a stop to it very quickly. So don't come into our neighborhoods. You can believe and worship any way you want, but you don't push that onto Americans. You don't push hate onto Americans. Because we've got enough hate coming at us from politicians. We don't need more hate coming in from other countries. And that's why when we have this open border, we have so many people coming in from China and from Pakistan and from all these other countries. And what are they coming in for? We don't know, because we don't know who they are. They didn't come through the normal immigration channel. No, they stuck across the border. They paid $10,000 to a coyote to bring them over. So if they're willing to break the law at that point, don't you think that they're willing to break the law and attack America within? We just have to ask that question. You have to throw that question out there. So the question is, what do we Americans do about it? What do we do? Who's going to listen to us? And luckily in Texas, they have a governor that's trying to close down that border. Supreme Court came down and said, yeah, you can go ahead and arrest them. So there are some people who are trying to look out for the people that live within their states. But you and I, we've got to make better decisions on who we put into office now. Because what we have in Washington, D.C. at the moment is nothing but crud. Nothing but crud. So we have some possibilities for change here. You and I, November, we have the power of our vote, the power of our voice to take back America. And we can do it. You and I, we can do it. And within our communities, we have a lot of possibilities to make changes, to make our communities better, to focus in on the needs of our community. And if we take back control of our communities, we can pretty much rock out a lot of these illegal entities that have come into our communities. We can do something that's great. But we have to start within our communities. Even if you just take up some volunteer time. I thought out in San Bernardino, and I was involved with this a long time ago, they had a program that started in one of the local churches there called Excel. And what happened is that you volunteered your time to tutor a child in school. So if that child was in school and he was having problems because his mom and his dad does not read or write or speak English, a tutor would help them. And we were able to see a lot of these young students that had a tutor for the school season or for the school year. They did great things. They made their studies count. And they went on to high school, they went on to college, and they did great things. Those types of things, if you implement that within your communities, if you implement more food banks, if you implement more counseling and mediation so that you can resolve situations within communities, you can turn a community around and make it a positive, living, family, church-oriented community. And by the way, I have to talk to you churches out there. You're not doing enough. You're literally not doing enough, because a lot of you have become woke and you are practicing woke ideals in a Christian church or a Catholic church or a Muslim church or even in a Jewish synagogue. You are not doing enough to resolve issues within your communities. You should be the mediators of your community. You should be the caregivers in your community. Walk away from this DEI, because it's nothing more than racism. Walk away from wokeness. because it accomplishes nothing except bringing in politics. And politics is an evil entity that corrupts a church or a community. So we have some possibilities here of we can begin with our local community, the one that you live in, the one that I live in, and start making a difference in other people's lives. If you make a difference in people's lives, you see change within your community. But churches, you have a big responsibility here, a big one. If you're woke, change to another church. If you're woke, stop it. Get out of it. Because wokeness just divides. It does not bring a community together. DEI does the same thing. DEI is just another form of discrimination, where you take one group, but you ignore all the other groups within the organization or community. Get rid of it. Stop this wokeness. Go back to the beginning and start rebuilding. And rebuilding means that you all work together within your communities. Well, that's it for today. Happy June. Today's June 1st. I'm happy to be alive. Even though there's been a lot of negative things, I still see a lot of possibilities where we, and you and I, can create change. Positive change. And we're going to do it. So, listen, today's June 1st. Kneel down. Pray for this nation. Pray for your communities. Pray for your families. Pray for the people that you work with. Pray. This is Mike Lodge. I am the business advisor. Even though we didn't talk about business today, I haven't talked about business in quite some time, and I got to get back to it. But there's been so much happening within our nation that I have had to take time away from business and talk about what the needs are of you and I. This is Mike Lodge. Talk with you soon. Bye-bye.